your PEI from really this skeleton for you, then go to it to um, really the questions for us are the substantive questions. The rest of this is the technical questions that Jeremy does much better than we were. I will just take the chair's privilege just to walk through what I think are the three key areas for us to look at. I think actually in the first paragraph on page 2 of 11, it is a discussion about we want to talk about for your introduction or description of the city. Now, this can be done 100 different ways. We, I think, have standard boilerplate language. I think I did not get a copy of the verb that we put in for the description of the city independence. So looking for that from you as a place to compare. I did my best to come up with what I thought were some of the items that were indicative of the city. So I'll just give you some time to read.
Thank you for putting mine.
Here's the thing. So let's do this one second. So each two paragraph is just the introduction. So I'm happy to words later, which words later. Are there big issues that you felt like were not reflected? And for the people who are watching, let me just touch on this. It talks about the size of the city, that it is a council manager form of government. Talks about major employers, which may or may not be the ones that want to highlight. I've talked about how many students we have in the city, that we have a long and storied history of exploration and discovery, that we will soon be celebrating our 200th anniversary. It touches on the strategic plan, talks about the city council consisting of the mayor, 2 at-large council members, and 4 in district. Has a place for us to insert our budget, how many employees we have, the fact that we have internal service fund activities, as well as enterprise funds, and then directs them to the city's website.
Looking through, I sent some other sample RFPs to you all earlier in the week. I didn't really like them particularly well. They were much smaller communities and I didn't think they were as complete as what this was, but there was one that from Joplin that I thought was, in some respects, I'm just looking at it again.
While you're looking at that, I also did some looking through like our national procurement organization, because they have like that database of projects, list RFPs and so on and so forth. But I found seven that I kind of looked at. Now, they were for similar kind of executive positions like a superintendent, a CEO of a transit authority. Okay, like as for instance, Columbus, Ohio, School District Superintendent, Hillsborough County Board, like Tampa, regional transit, CEO, James City County, Virginia, uh, City Administrator, Ford County, Knoxville, Tennessee Community Development Corporation. That kind of, go ahead. I see.
On Teams, and so I'm not sure they can hear me.
Okay. So what I was saying is that I also, oh, gotcha. All right.
You can probably hear off of mine, frankly.
Very good.
Um, oh, sorry. Rich Sessi in procurement speaking. What I was saying beforehand is that I also looked up some RFPs. I didn't send them out to the committee, but anyway, we're similar, not all city manager positions, but similar executive level kind of positions like a Columbus, Ohio superintendent of schools. Columbus, Ohio is about the size of Kansas City. Hillsborough County, Florida, which is where Tampa's at, their regional transit authorities CEO. James City County, Virginia, their county administrator. Knoxville, Tennessee Community Development Corporation, basically a housing authority CEO. Leesburg, Florida, there's city manager, New Smyrna Beach, Florida, city manager, and a organization out of Salt Lake that is an emergency management kind of organization for their CEO. Now, I know it's kind of say square peg, round hole, but it is like, you know, executive level positions that I looked up as well. I don't want to necessarily flood us with, you know, responses or should I say, you know, RFPs, you know, but anyway, I was offering to throw that out there as well for comparison.
The two. Versions. I think we certainly have enough to draw from.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So let's just touch through here. So Councilmember Perkins wants to be sure that we split the budget out for general fund versus enterprise fund. There are other sort of areas that you think are neglected in this.
I'm just wondering if we should indicate that we work with 5 different bargaining units.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to further identify departments, you know, I mean, you say full services, you know, full service city. Is that well defined out there so that everybody would know what that means? I mean, I don't know. I'm asking the question.
I think so. We saw it in several.
Okay.
Yeah. Interpreted that.
Right.
Do you think it's a question? Do you think it's overboard to like indicate out of the employee population what percentage is union, like a number? Or is that overkill? Yeah, so, okay, that's good. I just want to throw that out there for conversation.
It's good to just be really an introductory statement about the city itself.
Right, I
And
gotcha.
the people who live here and what's the environment of the city, as opposed to a full description of the function of the
Yeah.
units of the city.
Yeah, because this is really, I gotta keep reminding myself, this is for the RFP for the
Search.
search firm, not the city manager.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Maybe we
so,
can get to that detail
all right.
round 2. Okay.
Would reflect. Conversations that bring their cool post, they think their appreciation for like in the
Thought I had was, I'm looking, we had talked about uh, wait a minute. Um, we talked about some type of citizen engagement process. And is that coming later? Okay, all right.
but that we can certainly add in the pages on public. Background check. Anything else I think you feel like or actually reporting. Really, I think the big one for us to attend to is on page 3. Down requirements, schedule of RFP activities. These folks gave 2.5 weeks for their responses. Really rich, this is where we're expertise. Do you feel like 2 weeks is appropriate, 3 weeks is appropriate?
I think 3 is
Okay.
better. And one thing, and I'm kind of like picking through some of this as we go here. I think one of the things that would be good to have with the applicants with their submission is examples of their advertisements and their reach outs, like actual electronic examples of their reach out. Because on some of the ones that I had looked at, a lot of them said we need to have examples provided of your actual
Packets that,
packets, you know.
yeah, we had actually talked about that a little bit, previously relative to, wanting to be able to see what they produce. And so that we could get a better understanding of what the packets that they put together were like. So,
Okay, so let me just make sure that I fully understand what you're saying. You're not talking about their advertising approach, you're asking about examples of the
Yes.
recruitment package.
Correct.
Okay, got it?
But not advertisement, just recruitment package.
Well, and I want to make sure I'm on the same page. Like as for instance, if they put a advertisement out in some kind of, like, okay, city managers, they have their own association. What kind of advertisement example that they would put out, like in the City Managers of America association, something like that.
So we are talking about two different things then.
Then we find out they're posting on the ICMA website what that looks like, as well as what the whole recruitment package looks like. Both pieces.
Yes,
Got it?
thank you.
I-
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, you had your ESP hat on.
ESPN.
Thank you as well. Part about public purchase that, you know, I emphasize to people is that questions should go to the website. Everybody gets this questions, everybody gets the answers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will we have a time when they can ask, call in and ask physical questions, often like a webinar at on Tuesdays?
That brings out a good question. Do you guys think it would be good for them to have a pre-proposal conference? Because that's something where, like you say, it's an open invitation for all potential people to ask questions and we, you know, they ask, we answer as best as we can, and then we do it addendum.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, so let's,
I mean, it
let's
gives them,
factor that
it
in.
gives them more information, you know, and they can then, it will help them decide, are they gonna submit something or not, you know?
We still do that within the 3-week period?
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
think so, yeah.
yeah, definitely. So generally, like if we're talking 3 weeks, my thought is put it out midway through that 3-week window. We have a pre-proposal conference about, you know, you allow up until like 2 or 3 days before the proposal closes, have a deadline for questions. And then, you know, we have a proposal closing time, right?
Those are open sessions.
So pre-proposal conferences are open.
Yes.
But the pre-proposal conference can sometimes just be done with procurement. And sometimes it's done with the council. I would imagine we would want it with the members of this.
Yeah,
committee.
I would,
Okay.
yeah, because I mean, you guys are the ones that are gonna be the selection committee, so I would say, you know, whoever wants to participate part of this committee should be available, make themselves available.
So can you put a pin in that for timing the one? Okay. Thank you. So format of proposal on page 4 of 11, halfway down the page. Proposals are to be kept within 30 pages with minimum font size of 11. That's a lot, but can they also, normally within that 30 pages, that's 30 pages of proposal, they can have addendums for attachments if they are going to be using,
That's standard.
yeah, the ability for them to give us examples of recruitment packages. So I just want to make sure everybody is.
Do you need to be able to say that? You need to say that there can be addendums or? Is
Yeah, I
that,
think it
I
would,
don't know.
yeah, I think it would be good to, you know, put, you know, examples of advertisements and other, yeah, attachments are not part of that 30-page. And I can wordsmith that.
And a bunch of just. They can withdraw them, but if they make pick them, they can't. Negotiate that,
On the format,
yes.
I would like to hope we could do most of this by PDF and not paper. document.
Yeah,
Is that,
we've
is
been,
that standard?
we've been electronic since 2010.
Yeah, cause I'd actually like to get rid of this book and personally, that doesn't mean we have to, but I'm just saying. So I was looking at the one from Lenexa and I thought it was helpful on their scope of services. They started out with, our goal is to have position filled by X time frame. I think that might be helpful, to give them a general sense of our timeline, even though we don't know exactly what that is. So I would say like, something to the effect of first quarter 2026 or something to that effect.
You would like the scope of services, they were much more explicit in them than the one with Johnny.
Well, I didn't compare the two, page buttons, so let me look here a little bit more. I do kind of like it a little better, to be honest with you. Yeah, I do like that better, to be honest. I think it's more detailed and, gives some. I thought that was really good. I looked at that and I highlighted that as well. I thought, if, if we go through all this and everything falls apart, then now whether they'll agree to that or not, it may be another story, or it may be at a discounted rate or something like that. I don't know, but it's worth asking. I don't know, you got any experience with that, Rich?
Some of them that I also looked at had that same kind of clause in there. I don't know how long of a time period it gave, but yeah, there's other proposals out there with that same kind of
Okay,
component to it.
well, so that must be not unheard of, at least
Right.
it's could be fairly standard. Oh, that reminds me, one other thing, I looked on this one, you've got contacts on here, on the front page of Carissa and Melissa. Um, I figured you did, so I just didn't know if we needed to talk about that. Yeah. Right. It may be you is what I was
Well,
thinking.
generally, like what we do is this cover page is fine, but we have like on our template where it says questions should be submitted to public purchase by the date specified in the proposal. And so it goes and it directs people to go to there as opposed to getting to individuals.
That's good.
Yeah, it's all about transparency.
That's good.
Actually,
The page 4. I mean, I think that'll go to that'll be important information in their packet that they send out, but I don't know that that's how critical that is for this. Yep, I like that idea. I mean, we might need to wordsmith it a little bit, but, yeah, yeah. Right.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Finessing of it.
I'm assuming what'll happen from here is we'll take what we've talked about today. Rich will put it in format that is for independence and put all the language in there and then send it out to us for review.
Yes.
And then at that point, um, we'll want to have the whole council, after we agree, then we'll have the whole council weigh in. I don't understand that.
have, and I'm just using example purposes, you can have three companies that look good, but you don't know what you're getting until you bring people in. And I would expect us, you guys, to interview these finalists. And so I think it's worthy to have an additional amount of points,
Great.
because then that'll, let it clearly show who's the winner. Because you can have something on this step, but once, like I said, you'll see who shines and stands above the others. I think that's worthy of having points added. And when it comes to that, I can, work with everybody and come up with a breakout of, what to give for that 25.
Kind of further define
Yeah.
that, sure, that'd be great. Yeah, I was envisioning something slightly different on the matrix we had talked about, which was that some of the things might be weighted heavier than others, but I'm not, maybe that's not, in this particular method, I don't know that that's necessary.
You have particular areas we want to be sure that we highlight. The one that course, candidate. Your experience. Feel like qualifications and expertise. Get here without qualifications and expertise. And really, I'm like, that's dandy. That's just getting through the door. I want to grade you on what have you done for other cities. So it feels like that ought to be
What-
20 points. And maybe we drop our qualifications and expertise down to 15. I don't know how you feel, but I'm good.
Well, it doesn't have to add up to 100, it can add up to something else, so, I'd go with 2020.
So, and past experience with similar projects that perhaps reflect a little bit of this. It isn't very clear to me why it goes in there. So, this I felt like we did attention.
That's one we've talked about adding, is that right?
So I guess.
Um, on previous situations where you've had like that last stage for presentations, and I'm just using a random example. You have 25 points, you could have, 10 points for, approach as far as, their delivery of their plan. Another 10 points for, preparation, 5 points for intangibles such as, the gel factor. But I'll have to go and look at one of the ones that I did where, we had that second stage.
Okay.
Because, as I see it, you could have like, I don't know, I'm just using a random example. You could have 10 companies. you know, you look at three that seem to be closely together. And then, you know, like I said, we have that presentation stage with the further breakout of those additional points. Like I said, I'll get back to you guys on that, but I'm just giving you an example of, you know, because you asked the question, are we evaluating them twice? You've got the main evaluation, but then, like I said, you know, you shouldn't pick somebody just based off the paper. And I think that with the presentations, that's worthy of having that additional to add to the initial 100 points. So I owe you guys on like some sample criteria for the presentation piece.
So we would include that in our board matrix.
Yes, yeah,
See that.
yeah, yeah. So like you guys don't see it, I'll share it with Councilman Pierce here. So using this as an example, this is the one for Columbus, Ohio for the superintendent. You know, you had an initial 100 subtotal and then 25.
Gotcha.
And like I said, what we could do is we could put like what composes that 25.
I like that. Yeah. That has merit.
Just so everybody remembers, these are the things that we have. And you're saying you do that in the front of the document?
Come again with that question, please.
You were saying that on the front of the document, questions are due on this date. You put the whole RFP schedule on the front.
No, that'll be like, you know, second page, you know, somewhere, not on the front page. It would just be maybe the second page of schedule of, you know, the process.
City manager job description requires special qualifications. Three is that they must become a city resident living within the corporate boundaries for 12 months of hire. One, that is not required in the charter. So one has
Yeah, I want to keep it.
is making sure we're consistent with their documents, because according to the charter, the only person who has to live in the city is the judge, which is unusual, but there we are.
Councilmember.
Yes, please.
And this goes down to the breakdown of the cost component, even though it's just like on this example 10, I'm gonna share again with council member Pierce. This is another example that I had where on the cost, they had a section A for total firm fixed price. And then they had a section B for the additional expenses such as travel, meals, car rentals, hotels, all that other stuff. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there so that, you know, you have a true number that people are saying that that it's gonna cost us, as opposed to like getting, you know, invoice
Yeah.
change order to death.
And yeah, I get it. And you think you're gonna spend this much and you're spending, you know, twice as much because travel or whatever, you know. So, yeah, I think that's great.
Okay, and then they've got like a C, total estimated expenses.
Right.
Yeah, so let me just, sorry.
Let me just be sure I understand. Are we talking about the cost for the search firm?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay, that does not include the cost of bringing candidates here, which is a separate set of.
Right, sure. Let's talk about this step A. Yeah,
Yeah.
because, you know, as with everything that you spend money on, you know, you can always have somebody give you a low figure and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, you got
So
this.
stay in the Taj Mahal instead of,
Right, exactly. I mean, I've even seen it where, you know, I don't think we need to get into the weeds of this, but people put in specifications about, you know, firm must stay within a 3-star hotel instead of like getting a hotel at the Intercontinental.
right.
I don't know. But we don't necessarily have to get into the weeds on that, but just throwing that out is what I've seen.
So I took a look at the job description. At this point, I mean, what I think is we say, here's the existing one. And part of what we want them to do is to help us, if we need to craft some, modify it to craft what is new, what changes have, since this was done in whenever 22, there's a couple of things that I saw on there that I didn't think that were as well represented as I would like to have. Like, for example, it doesn't say a whole lot about working with the city council. I mean, how often, what the expectation is on that sort of a thing. So I just thought that, in meeting with council. It also, in the work environment, it talked about a lot of things, but it didn't talk much about listening. And so I thought that was to me, quality communication starts with listening. And so, I just thought that might be an important, but those are just, that was just an initial reaction. But I would think, on the RFP, we could include that as here's our most recent one, but part of what we want them to do is to help us with the new one. And the other thing that I thought that I did like on the Joplin one is they put a organizational chart in there. I thought that in the RFP, and I thought that was, or, as an addendum, and so I thought that was a good move, so. I mean, I think this job description is 90% of the way there. It just, probably needs to be tweaked a little bit for things.
Just be more fluid.
But this is common of way job descriptions look, and I'm sure there's a format in the city. I'm looking at you guys who, that this is the standard format for job descriptions, and I think, this one needs to fit similar, but it also might be embellished a little bit for the benefit of the.
Did have relatively recently job description for finance director. That was just crafted.
Right.
Maybe that would be.
That might be helpful.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
Send it to us.
That'd be good.
reviewing this, there's a lot of meat here, the expectation of, when we put our final job description together to have, don't want to get so narrow or we want to focus so much on how this gentleman or lady's work will go.
Right.
General expectation of good and stuff like that. Or your job, I don't know how deep you want to put that.
Right.
Then you get to wordy and.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
this one had a whole lot of other language and a whole lot of other expectations, and I just thought that just kind of stood out to me as something that was missing, but,
I thought you didn't actually.
Hires. And just for people watching, also know that we have Teams Town Hall with provided a link to them to be able to give us feedback on two things. One, what they would like in a city manager, but also one question that they would like asked me. And we're starting to get some of those responses. We have 1,100 employees, so if we get 1,100 responses, that might be a lot. But I would be thrilled if we got close to 10% engagement. So we'll review those, bring that into our considerations as well. Really, those are, I think, the big tasks that I wanted to accomplish today. I'm open for what other topics would go for me to review.
I guess I would like us to maybe, kind of timeline out the next couple, 3 steps. And talk about when, so we can get some things on the schedules that way.
So Rich, how much time do you think you need? I'm happy to work with you.
Right.
So we can sit down and polish this up.
Okay, so we got Columbia's here. Are we using also Lenexus as a good
Just that
template as well?
scope of,
Okay,
services.
all right. If I could get the Lenexa one, that'd be great. Okay. So, we could try to, is this time next week too soon or?
No,
Gotcha.
no, the sooner
Okay.
the better, yeah.
Gotcha.
In fact, I would ask that, that we could have it a day or two before we meet. So that, we can give it the time it deserves.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't even get it. I don't know why I didn't get it, but I did get it.
Yeah. I mean, at least a draft, you know what I mean? Yeah, in our template with these 2 borrowed language, yeah.
Kind of what I was thinking as well, because we could actually do, we've got a council meeting, on Tuesday on the 2nd. We could do, if we wanted to, a study session after the council session. And just to address this, just to get feedback on, from the rest of the council in an open session.
Okay, so make sure I understand what you're saying. We have our regular council meeting, and then we actually transition to a study session just for the discussion.
That's my thought. I mean, I'm not married to that, but can we do that? Any reason why we couldn't, I'm just, I've never done this before, so.
Say yes, that'd help keep the timeframe going. When are we anticipating getting that to the council? What is- You think that maybe, if that's a holiday weekend, everyone's gonna be busy.
But they got 4 days to,
Yeah, but it's a holiday weekend. Um,
comments back by the 3rd September.
We need to, do we need to meet after comments are back?
Okay.
Um,
That makes me happy if you're all right. So, I'm gonna do perfect time to go, all of that. Listen, is there anything that you, director of finance, considerations, that's something about this one? I think so, and let that bridge proposal. Give it a quick. I don't, what you find out today. But out, so what Rich comes up with and. Councilmember Fears, I know that you had some information from NMM. Do we have any idea or scope of what people do recruitment firms? I think that would help us.
They did not indicate that at all. I was actually fairly disappointed with the information I got from MML. There just wasn't a lot there. But, you know, so I don't, you know, we could probably, for example, ask the school district what they paid. With their, because they're just going through this process as well. That would give us maybe a general ballpark, and,
Could you object if I call Columbia and Lenexa to find out what they paid for their searches?
no, sure, yeah. Sounds good.
Please.
Yeah, that would be great, yeah. Yeah, I think we're on target.